to reinstate their retirement credits if they return to federal service and to work part-time at the end of their career. I want to recognize the Federal Workforce Subcommittee Chairman, Mr. Lynch, who has really worked real hard on this and for his work on these issues and the bill. I also like to thank Representative Norton and Representative Van Hollen and Representative Connolly for their thoughtful amendments that improve the bill. I would like to thank the Oversight Committee ranking member, Mr. ISSA of California, for his amendments that strengthen the legislation as it relates to members of the uniformed services. Thank you for your input. Finally, I would like to thank Chairman Skelton and the Armed Services Committee for their contribution to this bill that will provide better financial protection to the families of our military men and women. I urge my colleagues to support this legislation, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves the balance of his time. The gentleman from California.
I would reserve at this time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from New York.
I would like to recognize the gentleman from Missouri for 3 minutes, Mr. Skelton, the person who's really worked real hard on this and has done a fantastic job. And of course, when it comes to military personnel, he's always there doing the right thing.
The gentleman from Missouri is recognized for 3 minutes.
But first, I thank the gentleman from New York, Mr. Towns, for yielding, and I rise in strong support of his bill, H.R. 1804. And I thank him for his partnership on this bill. In addition to the many good things this legislation does for federal civil servants, I'm pleased to report that this bill includes a provision of great importance to the surviving spouses of service members who have died as a result of service-connected conditions. I want to thank Chairman Towns for his great assistance in making it possible to address this issue in this bill. The members of the Committee on the Armed Services, which I'm privileged to chair, are very appreciative of the cooperation that made the legislation possible, because it is unlikely that the funding required to support the change could have otherwise been found. I would also commend my colleague, my friend, member of the Armed Services Committee, Congressman Solomon Ortiz, who's introduced legislation on the SBP offset and has been a great leader and an advocate for the military families affected by this issue. The provision would increase the monthly special survivors indemnity allowance beginning fiscal year 2010 with a $35 increase resulting in a monthly payment of $95, and concludes in fiscal year 2016 with a $245 increase resulting in a monthly payment of $345. Although the improvements are substantial and a welcome addition for our surviving spouses, the proposal is an incremental change that falls short of the ultimate objective: to eliminate the offset of the Survivor Benefit Plan, or SBP as it's called, by the amount of dependency and indemnity compensation, or DIC, received from the Department of Veterans Affairs. This so-called widow's tax has long denied surviving family members the full payment of their SBP benefits. I can assure our surviving spouses and my colleagues on the Armed Services Committee that we will continue to explore every opportunity to pursue legislation that brings us closer to eliminating the widow's tax, just as we are doing today with the help of Chairman Towns. H.R. 1804 provides a robust step in that direction. I encourage my colleagues to vote for it. And, Mr. Speaker, I yield back my time.
The gentleman yields back the balance of his time. The gentleman from California.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank Chairman Skelton and Chairman Towns for the hard work they put into this bill. I'm here today to say this is a good bill on the front end. I'm sad to say this is a bad bill on the back end. What this bill does, which was worked out on a very bipartisan basis with all speaking here today, is in fact it does recognize that modern retirement plans should have as many options as possible, and certainly adding the Roth IRA option for some federal workers is extremely